So I have acorn caps. I have a bunch of these pine cones. Are these pine cones? They come from a pine tree. Fir tree, pine tree. I confuse fir trees and pine trees. I think this is a pine. I think it's a pine cone. A bunch of these little pine needles. I like the texture. Oops. These are the only things that I have that are kind of like a non-brown thing, though they'll stick out really well. So this is the only thing I have where I have only one of it, because I am going to use it as the center of my mandala. It's this little piece of like, not lichen, maybe lichen, actually, I don't know. I am not a scientist. I don't know. I'm an art teacher. So I have this little piece of, it would have come from a tree, but I found it on the ground. So another thing that I'm going to ask you not to do is not to rip the bark off a tree if you go outside to do this. That's the skin of the tree. If you find bark or tree things on the ground, those are fair game, but please don't try and rip the bark off a tree. That's the tree's skin. It protects the tree from like bugs and nature and rain and stuff like that, just like your skin protects you. I googled it. It is lichen. So what I have all of my, can I see my finger? Yes. I have like all of my natural objects kind of compiled together, and I have a space to make my mandala. So I'm gonna sit on down on the ground here. So, and I'm just really gonna hope that I'm in frame. So I have a space to work on the ground. I have kind of like cleared all the other like debris out of the way. And I am going to start my, I'm trying to like look up. I am trying to start my mandala in the center. I'm not gonna like make a frame around the outside to start with. I'm gonna start in the center with my center, my one thing. So I'm gonna put it right there. And now I'm gonna think about like what I'm gonna use next. So my choices are these like pine cones, these pine needles. I have these like acorn caps. I'm not sure that acorn caps are gonna actually show up that well, so I might not even use them, and that is okay. I think I want to use these next. I think that that's the right choice. I think I'm gonna actually break them apart and kind of scatter them in a circular pattern. And this, right, nature is not perfect. And my artwork won't be perfect. Some pine needles are longer than others. Some are like bigger clumps, some are smaller clumps. That is totally okay. What I'm doing is I'm thinking about how these natural materials work together and what I'm trying to make them do, which is just create something symmetrical using radial symmetry, so it's radiating out from a center point. I hope that you guys can like hear me talking, or else I'm gonna have to voice over this whole thing. We'll see. So I think that, I think that looks pretty good. I like it. So now I gotta think next. I have these pine cones. That one's kind of yucky. I'm not gonna use it. I think I'm gonna maybe use them to frame the outside. So I'm going still around in a circle, and I'm gonna make a little picture frame kind of around. So I'm making a pattern. So for my pattern, I want it to be pretty like, just kind of repeats. So I'm putting like the like end of the pine cone near the head of the pine cone. So it like kind of goes around in like a full circle. It's coming full circle, like this. And one more is gonna fit perfectly. There we go. So I could be done with this, or I could add more to it. I actually gotta think about what I want to do there. I think I want more pine needles here, so I might even speed up this part of the video though. So I think this looks pretty good. I like it. I could be done with it. I could add more to it. If I had more natural objects, I think I would probably add some more. But I kind of like it simple like this. I think really for me, so if you were to ask me, Miss Allen, what's the point of your artwork? I think the thing that I noticed the most as I was making this was the color difference. So when I've come out to the woods here, a lot of what I find on the ground is brown, except for these pine needles. And I think that framing my artwork with this dark brown pine cone kind of makes you notice the green of the pine needles more. So when I was picking out my objects, when I picked the pine needles up, I didn't even really notice how green they were until I kind of had them next to and was looking more closely at the other things. So I think for me, that's kind of what I would hope someone would notice. Oops. And your final step is to take a picture of your artwork, or you could do a quick sketch and show me what you made. Or if you do not have access to the outside world, if you are sick in bed today but still want to do your artwork, you could definitely just get out a piece of paper and a pencil. You could even go on Google and Google like natural objects. Or you could think about what you would have used if you were outside and draw me a mandala. Really what I'm looking for you to show me is that you understand the concept of radial symmetry. Okay, my friends, this is the rubric that I would use to like grade your work. I wouldn't worry so much about grading, but it's kind of like just a tool that you can reference to know whether or not you have understood the concept that we were learning about in this lesson. So you can pause the video on this screen if you want to look at it more. It's also on that website where you found this video. So the big things I'm looking for are that you have made a mandala, not just like put a bunch of stuff in a a pile. That's kind of like what the one looks like. For the two, or the partially meets, what you're kind of seeing there is someone has thoughtfully arranged something, but they're kind of missing the concept of radial symmetry or having a center point. And then the three or the meets, it's the one I made. I made all of them, but that's the one that I made as like my example. I start with a center point. I use natural materials. My work is thoughtful and slow. And, I've done my best craftsmanship, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so there's also here just like a checklist of the things that you've done. The last checklist, or the last thing on the checklist is to send me a picture of your work. If if something happens, you forgot to take a picture, it's not a big deal. You can just shoot me an email and say, we made a mandala with, acorns and sticks and blah, 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 and we understood the concept. So, something like that. Or you can make me a quick sketch of what your artwork looked like. Or if you can't go outside for some reason, you can do this project just using paper and crayons and markers and pencils and draw me a mandala. And it would be awesome if the kind of things that you were drawing were natural objects. Okay,